Hello everyone, I'm Chris with Cali Moto TV. Welcome back to the channel and welcome to On Any Moto Powersports, my local Ducati dealership in the V2. That's right, we're gonna go do a nice quick ride, nice fun ride through Gates Pass. While I've ridden a V2 before, it has been a few years ago. On top of that, it was only a 10-mile PDI ride, so I didn't really get to experience it all that much. Also, because I'm selling the V4R, I'm looking at the S1000RR or a V2 to do a full-on 90% race build. Pretty much everything's a race bike except for it has headlights and turn signals, and we'll just kind of leave it at that. But come with me, let's go for a ride and see what this V2 is all about. It's crazy hot, so yeah, we're gonna have some fun and probably sweat a little bit. All right, we're out here at On Any Moto Powersports. Like I said, we're gonna come back here and ride this 2024 Ducati V2. And as I mentioned, it is a bike I have ridden. However, it wasn't for very long, and it wasn't sort of under the conditions I'll be riding it now, so I'll actually get to experience a little bit more. I also got to remind myself that there's a standard shift, so it's GP. But yeah, let's get this thing turned on and fire it up. See, start stop button's interesting because on the V4 this comes down and there's a button here to push. This you just hold it down, and there you go. She lights up and ready to go. This particular V2 is a 2024, but the V2 platform isn't anything new. There's a million and one reviews of them out there, awesome. But this is more kind of me getting back in tune with what a V2 feels like, because this is a bike that I'm considering doing a full build on, changing out the show forks, putting on nice suspension, really getting this to a 90% race build. So I wanted to get back on it and see, you know, what it is that I missed by not actually riding it on, you know, a good twisty road or something along those lines. And really just kind of get out here. So right away, this is hugely familiar. This honestly reminds me back to $11 and $12.99 as far as the narrowness. I really miss how narrow those bikes were compared to the new V4s. They're definitely a good bit girthier. I also miss that thumping twin. Even though this is a 955cc or 959, it's still a great motor. The quick shifter auto blipper is fantastic. I wish there was no cars there because that little hill is a lot of fun, but I just feel really good on this bike. I don't feel cramped. I have a decent amount of leg room, and ergonomically it's just a solid feeling bike. Something I do want to point out is the switch gear. While the turn signals are nice, if you go to change stuff here, you'll end up flicking your headlights and high beams on and off because your thumb will accidentally hit it too often. I think that's a weird touch. I rather would have had a switch here than maybe a rocker for the lights. Super silly thing to critique, but it's an annoyance that I've noticed just from this short ride so far. Who in the world is out here riding a bicycle when it's 99 freaking degrees outside? You're a maniac. Absolute psychopath right there. Like, who rides, like, it's bad enough I'm on a motorcycle, but who purposely gets on a bicycle and go ride out here? My God. We changed from sport to race, and the throttle response is much nicer. Much nicer. I prefer this throttle response versus sport. It's a little more active, not as twitchy. So, ooh, there we go. I say not as twitchy, but that was me. It's got plenty of torque. So I've ridden the 899 and then rocks. And then the 959 Panigale, that's a dual-sided swing arm. And I thought the 899 was nice, but I wasn't a huge fan of the 959 dual-sided swing arm Panigale. I thought it was all the weird annoyances that the 1199 had, but with less power. So it was less powerful and just as weird and quirky, where the throttle was twitchy. It just didn't feel that great. And I have a buddy of mine that has one of the Corsa 959s and he loves that thing, but I
I didn't like how that bike felt. This V2, I know it's the same motor and everything, but they've refined it in a way that makes it more nice to ride. I don't think it's taken away from the rawness at all. Maybe a little bit. It's definitely taking some of the edge off that these twins normally have. But is that really a problem? Initially I said yes a while ago because the rawness kind of what drew me to this brand. So to not have as much of it, I thought it was a problem, but the more I ride them, the more I realize it just makes it that much more enjoyable of a ride, where you're not just getting the crap beat out of you, or it's not just killing you and your wrists, or making your mind just go numb because of how on it you have to be when you ride them. I don't know. I like this V2 because there's still character to it. I can still feel the motor, that twin, that thump, that vibration. I love it. All right, so I'm taking a chance hopping off here as I have an open road going back. I'm sure a car will come. But I wanted to sit here for a second and just look at it. It's a beautiful bike. The Panigales have always been gorgeous machines, and the V2 is no different. I'm really happy that the 959, the double-sized swing arm, that they went away from that and brought in a baby V2. I think it looks good, or baby Panigale I should say. I think it looks great. This would need to go, but that's no big deal. Love that shock. I know it was weird for people, but I don't know. Let's get back on it. Remember which way to go. All right. 99 degrees out here. So those of you that are asking like how hot these bikes get, we're at 219 right now, engine temp. That was me. I tapped the shifter, and it was hesitation on my part. So the bike's like, oh, we want to go? Nope. Ducatis are all about intention. If you don't have intent on shifting, don't shift. All right. Oh, torque, the light body, it's nimble. God, it just feels lovely coming out of corners. It's not, if you're not quite 1,000 cc feeling and you want something just slightly lower, this isn't an intimidating bike. I know the name and the brand might scare you away, but as far as like actual usability, it's not an intimidating amount of power or torque by any stretch. They're absolutely faster bikes than this, and I just love the thump, the grunt, thump of the grunt, the thrunt. Oh, it just comes out of corners so nice. Quick shifter is very good, especially higher in the revs. I mean, it's indicative to a lot of these bikes. The more revs you give them, the happier they are. Something I will say that this motor, a lot of rocks. Something I will say this motor, a lot like the 11 and 1299s, is they seem like they need to shift a lot. Like you need to find the right gear. That's not a surprise. That's pretty indicative of twins. Like you're usually hunting for gears. Good or bad, it's really just what type of riding you're doing. Some people might find it annoying because you're always looking for stuff. That's why you slow down when you see bicyclists, because people come in your lane. But yeah, when you're hunting for gears, some people find it annoying. I think it's a little more engaging because you're constantly shifting and you're constantly doing something. That can be exhausting to some of you. Others may like it. Really what you're feeling, what type of riding you're doing. All right, so I know some of you might be wondering, how is the heat on the V2? That's there. It's not nearly as bad, again, as the bigger bore 11 and 1299 twins were. I do think it's slightly cooler, and I do mean slightly. Like I would need a heat gun or a thermometer, an infrared thermometer, whatever. You know, the thing that takes temperatures, those things. I would need one of those to really give you a number. But a butt dyno, butt thermometer, that sounds bad. Let's not use it. Let's cut that. The warmth I feel radiating through my hindquarters isn't nearly as bad as I thought. It is warm on my thighs here, but not like they used to be. They used to be scorching. And let me remind you, it is 99 degrees outside. The engine temp's over 216 degrees. So there is some heat, but it is by no way, shape, or form scalding heat. Like right now, my V4R, my calf would be on fire. Not the case with this V2. That noise, ladies and gentlemen, I just, oh God, I miss a twin noise. I know the V4 sounds good. The twins, just another, it's such an iconic sound, and I miss it. I really do miss that sound. All right, let's go back to the shop. Before we go back to the shop, one quick point. Something that always annoyed me with the 11 to 1299, and this isn't any different, is at about 3,000 RPM, the twins hated whatever gear you're in. This is not much different than that. I need to be at least in third gear. If I go to fourth, it vibrates, it doesn't like it, so it needs to be down a gear. If anything, its sweet spot is second gear. It's happier right here, but I just can't see cruising behind someone in second gear screaming along like this needlessly. So that was the point I was making before about having to find the right gear, because depending on the RPM, these bikes really just don't like certain RPMs.
Just got back from riding the V2, the 2024 Ducati V2 Panigale out through Gates Pass, and here are my thoughts. First up, brakes, fantastic, feel great. A lot of pressure. It's a little more progressive and not so bitey as I'm used to. Not a bad thing, but if I were to build it, we'd obviously fix that completely and put on stronger brakes. The overall profile of it, it's narrow. You sit in the bike and you really clamp on this tank. I really like how narrow this feels. It again reminds me of the 11 and 1299, which I miss a lot because of this narrowness and nimble feeling. Doesn't quite have the bulbous V4 body and just muscling you have to do. Obviously the looks are fantastic. The chassis is solid. Now, what do I not like? This. I don't understand why they can't put a standard V4 dash in here. Yes, it is somewhat narrow, but it's not that much smaller. You can definitely fit a V4 dash in here if you really wanted to. The other thing is the switch gear. As I mentioned while riding, if you go to change modes, you're more than likely going to hit your lights here and be flashing people as you freaking try to change your modes. I think that's a little bit annoying. Not a problem, just something I noticed. Also, your turn signal and then your mode button being here is a little bit of a problem if you're trying to change modes and you think you might do something and then you hit the mode and then you hit the turn signal and it just becomes weird. I do feel that stock, if you leave it that way, it has a little bit left to be desired. You want a little more grunt, you want a little more interaction, you want a little more feel from the bike. So I do think if you're looking at it to keep a stock, it might not tickle your fancy, but it is such a solid package to begin with, and to do what I want to do, which would be a full-on build, it has endless possibilities and can be probably one of the most well-rounded, exciting bikes I could build. So what do you all think? Again, as a full-on package, you really can't beat it. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoy the ride because it was fun, crazy hot. On that point, again, the heat isn't that bad on a V2. I know I'm gonna get eviscerated, but it really isn't that bad. Other bikes are way worse, especially Ducati range. This wasn't too bad, but I hope you all like this video. Please like, comment, subscribe. Thank you again to On Any Moto Powersports. This is a demo bike. They have many demo bikes. So if you're in the Tucson area, come check them out. With that, I hope you all have a good one. I'll see you on the next one.